Is this coming through now? It should. It should. I'm certain. I'm certain of it. This is working now. All righty, everybody. Thanks for joining in for this hobby hang stream after quite a while. It has been quite some time. Quite some time since the last one, that's for sure. Did you miss me? Pyro's am I deaf? I hear nothing. No, it is a technical error. I changed up some stuff with OBS. I got a new capture device, so a little bit of on-the-fly troubleshooting. I couldn't do it without your feedback. It feels. I also moved some lights around to take some photos of my banshees, which you might have seen on a YouTube short. But because I moved the lights around, I feel like it's just darker in here. I don't know what I did different. We'll just have to make do. What's on the docket for today? This fire dragon. There's 2 remaining in the squad, actually. We got the original 5 that I've always had, and they're, for the most part, all nearly done, but the Exarch and this guy here who's in mid-fire need a bit of edge highlighting, or at least I want to pick out the edges with some yellows. I think that gives them that molten hot look. Pyro says, Buddy printed some Alpha Legion. Nice. Nice. Time to hobby, boss? Hell yes, it is time to hobby. I got a fresh wet palette here, so I'm ready for success. I want to use some AK's Dirty Yellow, I think, and maybe, if we're feeling crazy, we'll get some Flash Gets Yellow going. So we'll start in with this color here, and just start picking up these edges. You can see I've started a little bit here on his shin. So we'll just carry out those processes as we go. You know, from what I hear, fire dragons are real good now, so. Well, they were real good before, too. People are just too excitable, I think. Tramari says, nothing beats a coffee and donut combo. Hail to the coffee and donut combo. I agree. There's something about the... Well, I don't know how you take your coffee. I prefer a black coffee because it seems to enhance the sweetness of the donut. Even in my consumption of snacks, I prefer a bit of contrast. So Pyro, Tramari, what's on your hobby desk? What do you guys got going on? You know, I'm trying to detach. I'm trying to let go of my earthly tethers here and just be happy with an adequate job for rank and file models. Now, I know Aspect Warriors are a cut above. They are very elite in that respect, but I still think that effort is probably better reserved for characters. Flight of Icarus, welcome to the stream. Welcome. Tramari says, you prefer tea, Pyro? Pyro says, screw tea as well. Look, I don't mind. I don't mind a glass of tea every now and then. A glass. Who drinks a glass of tea? I don't mind a cup of tea. Prefer green tea, to be honest. Though I do think like an Earl Grey or something tastes a bit better. It's more enjoyable. I think I like green tea basically because I can pretend it's some sort of health potion that's good for me. And I've really started to batter this this brush. At one point it was so beautiful. Definitely hurting on the durability stat line. Pyro says, also I want the 40k, how's your Canadian winter, eh? It's been getting worse. Well, that's January for you, though. I mean, you gotta get out and shovel more in January. It's just what it is. Unfortunately, I prefer white Christmases, you know, a nice snowfall on Christmas in December, on the festive season. I think it adds a bit to that holiday spirit. But you don't get too much of that. Usually, all the snow seems to come in January. Then you tough it out January through February, and then after that it's pretty clear sailing until July, and then I hate the outside. I hate the outside weather far more than I would during winter. Definitely, I prefer the colder seasons and the blisteringly hot ones. That might just be me, though. I tend to run hot, so got a bit of inbuilt cold resistance, I suppose. Gunpla Hrazi, welcome, Gunpla Hrazi. Yeah, I think I said that right. Hail to you as well. Icarus says, the Volcus train is on my hobby desk lately. I've been using a Dremel to crudely deface the Imperial and Mechanicus symbols on it. Gonna start putting some banners and spikes too. Oh, right. I like it. I like it. I didn't get any Volcus terrain. I did, and I could do well, I could at least share a photo. I got some Volcus, not Volcus, what is it called? Boarding actions terrain, which in the kill team verse is called Gallowdark. I got some of that terrain done over the holidays. So I could, and probably should, at least take a photo. And then from there, it's like I gotta find some sort of scenario to make a thematic bat rep for it. That's what I'm thinking. I want to do something neat with that terrain set. And I've been looking on the on the STL front on like 3D cults and stuff, and there's a whole bunch of neat accessories you can get to add a heap of flavor for your boarding action or Gallo dark boards. Just really cool accessories that are modular and can socket into the. Well, I'm assuming it looks like they socket into the existing geometry. Oh god, look at this clumsy edge highlighting. Maybe it won't matter. Well, we can always clean up, right? We can always clean up. I'm actually quite pumped to get these fire dragons, these flaming dragons done, and then take a set up a spin job for Fugan and his boys here. Power says, tell me about it. I would rather deal with negative 35 than 35. I never experienced that cold, but I've certainly experienced that hot before, and it's... I hate it. I certainly hate it. Well, you can stay inside, right? You can stay inside and, you know, debuff that cold weather. But when it's that hot, it's like, oh my god. I feel like I'm just incubating in the household. Oh man. Getting sloppy here with the edge highlighting. Shamari says, by the way, I was trying to remember where I saw glowing runes for the Eldar Shrines, and I remembered it was from the Exodite miniseries. Also, the swirling energy effect of the Yanid model can work. That is true. That swirling tornado of energy on the Yinkarn. Feels like that model is definitely from a particular design era of Games Workshop's. It's like from an era where every model, every magical model they released had tons of swirling. I don't know, geometries. I don't even know what to call it. Just swirls, wind swirls. That is one... Look, so overall, guys, I took a perusal of the Eldar rules, and overall I think it's mostly tasteful. I have very few complaints, but I was bummed out to see that you can no longer team up the Yinkarn with the Avatar of Cain. And I get it from a game balance, competitive wargaming point of view. You might want to diffuse that power. But for narrative purposes, I think the restriction hurts. I just love the idea of an Avatar team-up fighting greater demons. I just think, like, the rules should be such that we could just play with our toys. Right? And the match play system should be what dictates. You cannot use X with Y. Well, I mean, I guess that is... Maybe I'm thinking too narrowly here. Maybe that is technically the case. Right? You can just do whatever you want anyways, right? Flight of Icarus says, I hope they keep boarding actions around, though I'm not optimistic, really. Yeah, I mean, the boarding actions is a mode of play that was brought to the fore because they had a product to sell in the terrain set. But they, I don't know, I want to be optimistic and say it'll stay around, but if they no longer sell it, I don't know if they will support it, right? That seems to be GW's modus operandi, right? I don't know if this is a good... Let me play around with the camera settings a little bit. Let me see what we can do. That's like how it used to be. Is that better? Is that better or worse, chat? I feel like everything's closer, but it's all blurry. We can manually focus. Oh, I think we found something. There we go. Now if I just keep my hand perfectly still, we're golden. Tramari says, also, to answer your earlier question out with the 40k, I am waiting to finish my Blood Bowl team, right? But am currently trying to reassess my ideal career and see what major to get for said job. That is a, well, regarding the career front, that is a tricky situation. Definitely take your time and think that through. Your Blood Bowl team, eh? I never played Blood Bowl. Never been too into sports, but I think Blood Bowl would be fun. Really, I think the smaller, more specialized games tend to be more fun more often than not. I think that's a good... I'd bet on it. I'd bet on it as a principle. We are definitely gonna have to do some cleanup, which is maybe not the most interesting thing to do on stream, so maybe I'll just try and keep things moving forward rather than backwards for your sake. Oh my god. That's so terrible. This mistake. No, what have I done? Oh, look. I'm only but a man. I'm gonna blame my tools. I'm gonna blame my tools. That's a good rule of thumb, right? No one will think any less of me for that. Tremar says, oh, happy Chinese New Year, everybody. Oh, is it? Is it Chinese New Year? Well, I guess to anyone who's celebrating, yes. Happy New Chinese Year. Funnily enough, I ate some Japanese food today. That's on theme, right? Basically. Basically. Pyro says, what is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. Have at you. Excellent, excellent reference there, Pyro. I wholly appreciate it. Classic. Classic references in chat, of course. Vladimir says, as the quote goes, excellent craftsmen blame their tools. That's how that goes, right? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much exactly, Icarus. Pretty much. Okay, so... Yeah, you know what? I'm sort of proud of myself. I didn't purchase any of the new GW aspect stuff. I'm committed to clearing the backlog. Clearing the pile of shame first. But I won't lie, the Warp Spider Exarch with the 4 swords like General Grievous does speak to me. It does speak to me. It is very cool. I wonder if I can convert... I mean, surely I can. But there might be some possibility. The thought occurs to me. I have a spare Artel Warp Spider. Because Artel sells them in the old classic format, where you have a squad and an Exarch separately. So I had 6 bodies. So I have a spare, and I'm sure it can be spruced up. I just have to find a way to rig up some swords. I mean, worst case scenario, right? You could just deck someone out for all melee, dual wielding 2 swords, and then say that counts as the Sword Weaver Warp Spider, but something about those quad swords is just too cool. It's twice as cool. Hammer says trying to cut a chain link to be a U is bloody annoying. Certainly can be. I don't do too much. Like, you using jewelry chain? That's yeah, that's the only kind of chain work I've done that's hobby related. Like, I think it was on a one-off Black Templar model I did. Icarus almost choked on my coffee. Icarus says the backs of GW sculptors must really be hurting with how much they carry the entire company's success. Yeah, I mean, to a degree, like in large part, I agree. I think a lot of the success also just comes from the success of the tournament environment, of the competitive environment, right? Of the rules, right? We've seen it over, the last few editions that you don't need to have good rules. You just need adequate. You need adequate rules service to drive a competitive, like a dynamic ecosystem of new things coming out, new rules shifting the balance of power, what's hot, Eldar, king of mobility. You get people talking, right? And as long as the rules are adequate enough, the competitive environment is satisfying for most people, I think. And clearly there's a pairing, like those two things are intertwined. The competitive ecosystem and the company's success. It's a topic of, like, GW's competitive bias. Obviously, it's a topic of mine that I talk to often in videos and chats and stuff. We've taken a little bit of the break on the Grimdark therapy, speaking of chats. Though not indefinite. Things are just a bit busy for a few of us at the moment, so it's just been on pause. Been on pause a little bit. Oh my god. Why am I using this brush? It's too big. It's too much. Wonder if I can get it with dry brushing this gun. The gun casing, I mean. Just get some cold, like a cold gray, give it a fairly heavy dry brush to give those panels some variance, and then a more traditional dry brush for the edges. May have to explore that. Warp Forge, welcome to the stream. how's it going? We are chipping away. Well, I am chipping away at flaming dragon or fire dragons, technically, to use GW's terms. They're fire dragons, but in my heart of hearts, they are flaming dragons. That's how they identify. Jeez, what's going on here? Let's try giving the brush a little bit of a clean. What is new with you, Warpforge? What is new with you? You know, I was working on the GSC kill team, and they're about... Yeah, I did a few streams with them, and I think they're about halfway, maybe a little bit less than half, like 40% completed. But because I started up this Escalation League for the friendly local game store, I was essentially compelled to participate, and I thought, well, if I'm gonna participate in an Escalation League, I might as well clear out some backlog, right? And so, the GSC are on pause. Man, I'm really like having trouble not thinking about what I can do about a converted Exarch to be like a sword weaver with four swords, ideally. Probably leave the hands because if I dry brush the gun, it's probably gonna have to get redone anyways. So we got his spinal column, and then his helmet, and then I think we'll be ready to move on. Tremari says, how was your reaction to Astartes 2? The trailer, you mean, Tremari, I'm assuming. Reaction, I mean, looks cool, right? What else can I say? Cool stuff, slick stuff, neat stuff. That's what it is to me. It seems to be of the same quality, or well, looks better than original Astartes, but it's the quality you would expect, right? Given what came before. I particularly like those action shots of the humble Predator. God, the Predator is so good. The Predator tank. 2026 is what they said in the trailer. Yeah, cool. Better than not showing anything, right? It's just a bit too early for me to feel like I'm not going to maintain a wave of hype until it releases if it's that early. So I'll forget about it and then get excited again later. I'm not planning to subscribe to Warhammer Plus to see it or anything like that, but if I'm sure I'll find a way to watch it. I'm sure there are ways. I feel about Warhammer Plus the way I feel about codexes. I just don't really want to support it, but I totally understand, like with codexes, people who want to buy them. I'm not judging. I'm not judging. If there's a particular model, or if you're just a collector of random, rare, limited releases, and you gotta have the Vindicare Assassin on the Sisters of Battle statue, that kind of stuff. It's sort of worth the price on its own just for the acquisition of those models, given the cost of GW's products. So I get it, but I'm just not down to feed that machine with my hobby dollars. Like the codexes, right? Like the codexes. I don't want to support that management of rules with my hobby dollars, so I don't buy codexes anymore. Spend my hobby dollars elsewhere. To each their own, right? What did I say in my video about the Saving the Soul video? You could use Warhammer Plus to really add some narrative weight to the universe they're building. I think that's more compelling to me than random unrelated side stories, right? Like the equivalent of like novellas, right? Little short stories. I'd much rather have a beefy series that has like a narrative through line in Warhammer Plus. I think if they offered that kind of content, I would be swayed to buy in, because I'd just be so curious. And then from a content creating point of view, I'd be like compelled to critique and then take a look at what's going on in there. But when the stories are, these one-off individual things, I think it's not as weighty. But they are cool. All right. See, that's really what Warhammer Plus should have been. Rather than DMCAing small content creators from making fan animations, they should have been like, oh, you guys make your cool fan animations, build the hobby audience, help people. It's an easy entry point to the uninitiated person into Warhammer, Age of Sigmar or 40k. And then they could have used Warhammer Plus to build these more significant stories, not just these like short little things. Warp Forge says, nothing much. Still setting up the station and grabbing the gubbins for the studio. That sounds good. Tomorrow I may start repairing models from the move. Then February I'll be starting my Chaos Knights. Very cool. Are you going with a custom Night House that's allied to your Night Lords, or is it a totally separated kind of a faction? Tramar says, I have high hopes for it, relating to Astartes 2, I imagine. Yep, I have high... look, I'm sure Astartes 2, just like Secret Level, will be very satisfying. Like, I don't... I'm not looking to hate on it. I think it'll be enjoyable. Flight of Icarus says, I'm glad they're letting him do his thing. Yeah, that's the least they could do. Letting him do his thing after they forced him. They forced him to do his thing for them. You can do your thing, but only for us. So it's okay. I guess I just have like embittered feelings towards the whole origin of Warhammer Plus. I cannot separate it, unfortunately. Flight of Icarus says, the closest I've come to buying Warhammer Plus was that Inquisitor sculpt. The way they handled fan animations really sowed a lot of ill will with the community. I think, yes. My sentiments exactly, Icarus. Oh yeah, here's a thing, chat. You guys can weigh in on it. Okay, so here is an experimental model. It's one of Artel's Darting Osprey, which make for good swooping hawks, right? But anyways, I was torn between the classic scheme, which you can see on the leg here, that's on the rock and the rear wings, and the newer, darker scheme. And I was so back and forth on it, like I couldn't really decide. And then ultimately, I just kind of folded backwards again onto the classic powder baby blue, sky blue aesthetic you'd see on the older Swooping Hawks models. And I landed that way because I thought maybe, given my basing scheme, because it's like water, right? The basing scheme's all watery. I thought maybe it would clash less with the brighter armor than the darker, the more modern look for the Swooping Hawks, like as you can see with how the rest of his armor's painted. And I was kind of, I don't know, just tell me where do you guys land on it? I also, I am biased towards each aspect's color being kind of separate from another, right? Like each aspect has their own color scheme. And this is, the newer scheme is closer to Dire Avengers Blue. I mean, it's still fairly different. It's much more green. But it's closer than the original classic Sky Blue. I don't know. I just thought I'd share that with you guys. You guys can tell me what you think, which you prefer. I'm not committed necessarily, but that's sort of where I'm sitting with it at the moment. Pyro says lighter. Warpforge says lighter. Tramari says maybe darker for battle damage. Interesting. We'll see. The way they handle... okay, well, I am all caught up. Let's see here. I did notice a notification, and I would be remiss not to acknowledge it. I am quite jealous of the new Fire Dragons banner, though. The banners are so nice. That is a feature I am definitely biased towards. My kind of accessory, that's for sure. Right now that I got my dashboard open. Yes, that notification was the Boss Tra subscribing. Very much appreciated, the boss. I have a few ideas for some further thoughts on videos in the vein and format of the previous ones with the Space Marine 2 gameplay. It's just such a convenient format. One concept is around how to distill. I think that's the phrasing I'll use. How we can distill the Primaris units into a more classic, a more tasteful paradigm. Another one is fixing Shadow Specters, which is definitely a video more for me than for the channel. For the channel's, you know, well-being. I don't think it'll be a especially popular video, but I enjoy just discussing rules, possibilities, how things could be better handled, right? And then I have another video that I think, or another topic, which I think would be interesting to the mainstream, which is the idea on narrative organized events, which I think certainly has a broader appeal. It's probably better to sandwich the unpopular video in between the two other ones. Tramar says, yeah, got a new subscriber. I'm still upset that rhinos can't take Primaris Marines. Yep, it's so stupid. I've said it forever. Like, I mean, it's not an unpopular opinion. I'm not like illuminating some very this isn't hidden knowledge, okay? Yeah, it's super dumb. God, like GW and their stupid rules. Yeah, you're telling me Death Guard Plague Marines can fit in rhinos? These fat, bloated, gigantism inflicted beings? Like, come on. It's the transports and the leadership pairings, which is a problem that came with 10th introducing that system. That is awkward. It is awkward, right? Like on one hand, I like it mechanically because it allows less awkward things with people advancing further than their supporting characters, right? But here's an example. A small gripe I have with the new Eldar Codex. Aspect warrior autarchs can now lead aspect warriors, which is a fundamental like win. Like that's an improvement. That's how it ought to have been the whole time. But they can only lead the aspect units following a paradigm similar to jump pack captains, right? So the autarch Wayleaper can only join spectral spinners, or no, warp spiders and swooping hawks, which is in line with the Space Marine standard, but it annoys me a little bit because, and I don't have her here, but I did have my winged autarch on previous streams. I gave my winged autarch the Tempest launcher because I thought, how cool would it be for this autarch to have walked many paths, as one autarch does, right? And then you could join either any of the units of the paths you've walked, right? In my brain, this is how I've headcanoned it. It kind of made sense, right? Because you are very familiar with how those aspect shrines operate. So of course you could lead, right? Of course you could join them. Join your old units, so to speak, right? But you can't. You can't because you're locked to jump pack only. Which, like I said, is in line with the Space Marine standard of jump pack captains and all of that. But then I look over at these other factions that get exceptions for leadership pairings, like the winged Tyranid Prime leading warriors on foot, and I'm just like, oh. That's convenient because there's just no other option to lead, so the rules are such that you gotta give him something. So it's like Lord Invocatus. Gotta give him something to lead, right? Because he just can't lead anything else. So it's kind of annoying. Like I said, small gripe. Overall, I like the Codex quite a bit. I really like how the Ulthwé detachment was handled. Reworking Strands of Fate away from a dice-based, or rather a dice-swapping mechanic is far more... Like, I didn't really build my Eldar army to be a warrior conclave force or an Ulthwé-style army. But I think if I did, I'd be very, very satisfied by what's presented in the book. Same with Eandon. Francois, welcome to the chat. Just noticed you there now. Tremor says it'd be new if the warriors had multiple souls now. Oh, that's in reference to the one spirit stone per model. Pyro says, darn, trying to make lore accurate Alpha Legion with chains is hard. Pyro says, I have no idea how to find cheap skulls. That is... Maybe 3D printing would be the cheapest way to get skulls, I guess. But it's not something I've looked for. I picked up that skulls box from GW way back, and it's... There's still quite a few skulls remaining. But I imagine there might be some cheaper options there and in 3D printing. Yeah, I'll be painting the majority of spirit stones on this guy, but not today. Today is for yellows. I'll put these little yellow spots at the edge of these ridges, because I think I've done that on the others in the unit. So it makes sense to carry them through. We'll probably go with like a teal or like a cerulean spirit stone for the Fire Dragon squad. I think that makes good sense. Get some strong contrast with your orange armor and like a split complementary with the green. It's probably not technically what it's called. Split complementary just sounds savvy. All I mean to say is it's preferable to have a different color than green spirit stones and green accessories for Biel-Tan. Shamar says new sub. Oh, dang, I missed it. Ah, okay. Good thing I have my dashboard open. Takuat has subscribed. Much appreciated for the subscribe. Takuat. Pyro says, is the subs only YouTube related? Should be. It's a Streamlab plugin onto my OBS. But I think it's just reading the YouTube stuff. I don't think there's another thing that it's feeding off of. I think it will do Streamlab donations and then YouTube super chats and YouTube subscriptions. I think that's it. I don't think Streamlabs has its own subscribers. I don't think so. And then we have that error to correct on his shoulder pad. Gotta fix up that blemish. That fumble from earlier. Tramari says, G2G fellas, it was good stopping by. Gotta get my car from the shop. You take care, Tramari, and drive safe. Drive safe. We'll use a bit of red contrast, I think. A bit of old Blood Angels contrast here. Just dab that in place. Get rid of that blemish, maybe. Oh, it might have created a different kind of blemish. Actually, you know what? I was dead set on working on yellows today, but we have a different problem with the Exarch. He's a bit too yellow. I don't know if a wash will remedy everything, like a Cassandora wash or a mixed wash with Korriber Crimson. I think I might have to find some sort of glazing solution with a contrast type of paint. Or an ink, maybe. Just a bit too orange, I think. But in any case, because it's been so long since I've done these streams, right? But because the thumbnails of these streams use a before and after, maybe we should just continue painting this guy. And so, we'll paint some Spirit Stones. Maybe clean up a few blemishes along the way. Yeah, I really like the cerulean stones they use on the heavy metal paint jobs on the store page. Okay, so we'll start with Stegadon Scale. It's a good base color for your Spirit Stones. It's got that green in there, and Sons of Horus might be too dull. Might be too dull. Here's what we'll do. We'll use a blend like this. I think that should work. We'll see. Might end up just being white with this. But I like the idea of using Toxic Mist as our brightest value in the blend. Francois says, Sotek Green. I do have some Sotek Green, actually. Right? Sotek. It's a bit darker. Yeah, you know what? We'll go with Sotek. We'll do it. We'll do it. Saborite. Oh, you meant Saborite. Well, I do like the idea of using Sotek Green. Because, and this is kind of like secret time, guys, I bought Sotek Green purely when I was indecisive about the Swooping Hawk colors. And now that I'm kind of leaning back towards the old scheme, I'm kind of beside myself as what to use the Sotek Green for. So I'm fiending to use it on something. Where else does he have Spirit Stones? On his chest plate. Like, how do you know the difference between a Spirit Stone and a nodule? A random Wraithbone nodule. So, like, those might actually just be just armor nodules. Francois says not Sotek, Saborite Green. I do have Saborite as well. But I think that's too dark to use as a final blend color. It's more like a medium color. And if I use it as a medium color, it's just going to, I think, be too green. They're all Spirit Stones, in my opinion, says Francois. Interesting. I'm looking at the Fire Dragons on the store page now, and it's not just these Artel models that have the random nodules. It's pretty much the case in all Eldar models. You get these smaller random nodes. I guess it's the frame. The Spirit Stones have a border, typically picked out in gold. Maybe that's the determining factor. Like, look at this thing. This thing's huge. That's a big old nodule. That's gotta be something, right? Oh, what a problem it is to try and understand Eldar technology. So we'll start putting in this Sotek. No, Sotek definitely sounds like a Necron color. But it's probably not. But you can imagine a Sotek dynasty, right? That doesn't sound out of place at all. I get the feeling it's a reference to something in fantasy. If anyone in chat knows, I would be keen to get some verification. Okay, we're gonna mix in a bit more Sotek, and then after this pass, we'll add a bit of Gauss Blaster, not Gauss Blaster, Toxic Mist from Army Painter, and we'll see how it looks. There we go. Francois says, I think it's Lizard Man. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. These words killed me. They are based on lizard men. And the snake god. The snake god, or the god snake, Sotek. Yeah, that sounds kind of like in line with what I was thinking. But, come on, Sotek Dynasty? That's, Look, army idea. Sotek Dynasty, making use of cool lizard man bits. How about that? Because they got kind of a bend of weird space technology, right? It's a bit cruder, obviously, a bit more mystical, but it looks pretty advanced sometimes, right? Yeah, your Sotek Dynasty. Sick. I love it. That's what you get on these streams. Only the best ideas for armies. Only the best army ideas. Okay, so mixing in a bit of... it's all out of focus, never mind. Mixing in a bit of Toxic Mist with the Sotek. Looking pretty cerulean. I think I made the right choice there. It's satisfying. It's just so small. Such a tiny jewel. Icarus says, I always thought it was named after Necrons, but apparently it's Lizardmen, I guess. Yeah, definitely, I can appreciate that. Pyro says, nah, just make them snake theme. Like snake, like staves. Using wraiths, but no arms, but with fangs. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. Look, I'm down with that. And you just have to make sure you use Sotek green paint, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is GW lore. Sotek Dynasty. It's a thing, I swear. Talk about fake news. Just spreading false lore. But I bet most people would be like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Totally. Sotek Dynasty is so cool. I never knew about that. Thanks, man. Just tell people it's old lore. And then GW retconned it. Just mixing in some black with the stick on scale base color, fairly watered down, just to try. Oh my god, disaster. I'll adjust the camera in a minute. Just want to get the tops of the gems with the darker color to try and create that blend. Pyro says, also at What the 40K, did you see GW's new rule on... Oh my god, what's wrong with my stand? Might be time for a new arm, unfortunately. It's, I'm recording off a newer phone, and it's heavier, unfortunately. We'll see. We'll see how she goes. Where are we? Pyro says, did you see GW's new rule on Army on Parade? No, I did not see a new rule for that, Pyro. Do you mind enlightening me? I did hear about GW permitting third-party models at organized events. Is that true? Is that the same news? This is something I was told. I did not fact check it. So you guys will be my error correction. Okay, I quite like those gems. We'll get some white for some white spots, and then we'll use that white to mix with our flash kits to make that helmet just stand out a bit more. Ew! Ew, Pyro. AOS minis can't be used to make 40k conversions and vice versa. Good God. I just want to throw up in my mouth. Just GW nuking the hobby. Just killing the hobby from the hobby. The hobby element from the hobby that we all signed up for. My God. It's like you can't even use their own products to be creative anymore. It's so disgusting. They just want you to create photo opportunities for codexes. Jesus Christ. Pyro says, damn, that's a loud ew. Sorry, it's just my visceral reaction. Candid, truly candid. My apology. I apologize if it's if it was too loud, if it hurt the eardrums. My God. Honestly, I would not have bet that would happen. I would have thought they had more integrity than that. So they only want you to use 40k bits for your 40k conversions. So then what happens when they keep making these regulations? And then all of a sudden, it's going to get to the point where you can only use the bits in the kits to make the units, right? That's the extreme. That's where this road goes, right? It's so embarrassing. It's so stupid. Oh my God. Terrible. Well, thank you for enlightening me. Yeah, I think I got a good topic for the next Grimdark Therapy, that's for sure. My God. I at one point in time I had aspirations for like doing an armies on parade thing, but when they even had those regulations before of like no third party stuff and like no third party miniatures, I was turned off from the prospect even then, right? Especially for things like this Phoenix Force army where I'm like, Like, you're not creating models for these Phoenix Lords. Other companies were, other sculptors were. I just didn't have, like, the desire. But man, that threw me for a loop. Warpforge says, watch me make a feudal guard out of Cities of Sigmar. And it just makes me feel less guilty on 3D printing and getting third-party bits. That's true. That's true. Although I would encourage everyone not to feel guilty about that. But I feel what you're saying there, Warpforge. You're just going to create, like, surely there'll be independent armies on parade type events that would grow up from the gap created by this, right? Where you can truly get creativity that's encouraged for an armies on parade. Because as they keep sapping away the space, the creativity, they keep maybe not sapping away is not the right way to frame it, but they keep chipping away little by little of the available options you have to use for creating these epic dioramas on parade, or collections on parade. Maybe that's already a thing though, and then it'll just get more popular, which is good. I'm happy GW is doing that. They should. I would love for an independent armies on parade that encourages creativity, 3D printing, third party, using Age of Sigmar bits to just destroy them in the output. Right? To just be embarrassed by these independent events that are doing it better than they are. That would warm my heart. Pyro says, unless the other two beat you to the punch. Francois says, from White Dwarf articles about how to make a land speeder from a deodorant can to you can't convert our models. Now I think every army on parade board needs a model converted from another GW game. Francois says, fucking ads. Oh yes, ads are on. You know what? Let me put this. I keep forgetting. I'll do a thing. I'll do a thing where we'll use super chats as a metric to offset ads. Mainly because I suspect stream performance is perhaps metered by the YouTube algorithm with regards to revenue generation through ads or super chats. It's a hypothesis. I cannot confirm nor deny if it's true. Pyro says, I believe the news comes from GW Instagram. Okay, well, that's official enough. Francois says, not everyone is creative, but Warhammer is for everyone. Yes. Yeah. Oh, everyone may not be creative, but everyone has the capacity for creativity. It's all in degrees, right? Some people are out of the box more creative in their thinking. But creativity should be encouraged and fostered through hobbies like ours, I would argue. Which is why I am so off-put by the news. Pyro says, I can't find the source. I'm trying to find it because a bunch of Instagram painters were upset by it and they took a screenshot. Yeah, that's reasonably so. That's Mondo cringe news. Like, really. Like, I really just want the outcome of this for some organized Armies on Parade event that's not called Armies on Parade, but is designed to just shore up this lack so that you can get some creative things happening. So how many times can you do this before you damage the pedigree of what winning Armies on Parade means, right? I think there's a limited amount of damage it can sustain before Armies on Parade just becomes associated as, oh, it's just... I think it already has the connotation that it just biases... It has a bias towards armies that are not converted. That bias was always there. I mean, I kind of heard it being discussed that way and sort of felt it in my limited experience at GW stores for their organized events. And this only confirms that. But now it's being said out loud, right? Like, does GW make money from Armies on Parade? I mean, aside from, like, the model that goes into... Well, sorry, aside from the money that goes into the products that are being used. That obviously makes money, but... Is there an entry fee? Is there some promotional gain? Is it that valuable, is what I'm wondering? That they need to limit this... They have to add this regulation? Like, it perplexes me a little bit. Like, why do they need this regulation? Flight of Icarus says, I really wonder if the competition between game departments has gotten so bad they're trying to stifle conversions just so other departments don't get the model sales. Is that the culture they have? Is there a like competition between those different divisions or groups of or those teams? Like, I have a suspicion that the reason why Horus Heresy units are all removed from matched play, discouraged, essentially, from purchasing for 40k is because they don't want to have the Horus Heresy inventory and production limits taxed by 40k players. Because it's probably only set up to bear the load of the Horus Heresy players. That's my assumption. I just think from like a first principles kind of thinking, that makes sense, right? Because we know how difficult they are how bad they struggled that is, GW that is, how much they struggle to just keep their inventory, to have products available in their inventory. So, like, with that reasoning, I think there's an incentive to limit Horus Heresy, to discourage Horus Heresy sales in 40k. Pyro says, I found it. It's on Citadel Color. Also, yes. Oh my god. It's so embarrassing to me. I'm so beside myself on it. Like, oh my god. Can't even use products from other companies. Or from the same companies, different from other game systems. My god. I wouldn't have seen it coming. I'll tell you that. Okay, we'll get some more Stegadon scale and start doing some black blending. Black and Stegadon scale for the weapon casing, just to give it a little bit of variance on these panels. I find this goes quite a long way for your black weapon casings, honestly. Oh, there's like a laser sight or like some sort of sensor on the front there. We gotta hit that with something. Probably a red. Maybe a teal. Maybe our cerulean color. Jeez, you guys are chatting a lot. Let me scroll a little bit here. Based on Valrak and ex-employees have said, okay, GW could run a brew in a brewery with how bad management is. You're free to make use of conversions too. Want to combine Acolyte hybrid parts with Cade shock troops to make Twisted Genestealer cultists? Go for it. You can even use components from different Warhammer game systems where appropriate, such as incorporating Necromunda Zone Mortalis terrain into your Warhammer 40k display board, or using Sylvaneth parts from Age of Sigmar to customize your Wood Elf army for Warhammer the Old World. However, you can't mix the actual settings. We can't have a Norn emissary on parade alongside Lord Croak, and Cetra the Imperishable can't march into battle with Lionel Johnson. Parts and components from miniatures set in the 41st Millennium and Age of Darkness may not be combined with those set in the Mortal Realms and World of Legend or Blood Bowl. Interesting. Pyro says, at what the 40k, this above is a frequently asked questions bit. Thank you for posting that, Pyro. You have done a great deal of work bringing this to my attention. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is... So that's fine and all, right? Like, that section where it's like you can't have a Norn emissary. Where was it? You can't have a Norn emissary on parade alongside Lord Croak? Okay, I agree. But what if you have a Norn emissary beside a converted Hive Tyrant that's using the base kit of Lord Croak? Like, there should be... Like, it comes down to execution. Obviously, you want it to be tasteful. You don't want just two random named characters from different game systems side by side. Like, duh. But if you have, like, I'm not familiar enough to know who Cetra the Imperishable is, but like, if it's an infantry character, like, why couldn't you have a converted Dark Angels captain that uses that infantry character as a base or a head or weapons, or, you know, it's a blended kit bash conversion, if you will, beside Lionel Johnson. Because the thing is, the people who do kit bashes and conversions most tastefully, you really shouldn't be able to tell. In my opinion, right? That's kind of how I measure tastefulness when it comes to your dudes and conversions and all of that stuff. Like, I don't know what they're afraid of. Like, the stupid side-by-side comparisons, like, not going to be in the top 10 of armies on parade. Because if it's not done well, it's not going to look good. If it's not tasteful, it's not going to score well. I would assume. I'm getting all riled up about this. Also, no Lord of the Rings bits are allowed for either setting, and then it doesn't count as an entry. It's the parts and components that ruin it. Also, Cetra is a Tomb King in Warhammer Fantasy. My Mega Knobs should be able to include those Evi Oryx Orc boys. Yes, absolutely, 100%. It's so stupid. That's an excellent point, Francois. It's I don't want to be dramatic, but it's like infuriating to a degree, right? Where it's like you introduce Snake a range for savage orcs who ride beasts, who are more primitive, right? The whole shtick with snake bites is that they are more primitive and more savage, more about the old ways, right? That is thematically it thematically synergizes and pairs into the the heavy Oryx, right? And even then, I wouldn't say just take one and put it side by side. Like, you know, I would want a little bit of conversion effort to make them blend a bit more, but the pairing is thematically strong. Yeah, that's a great example, Francois. Really grinds my gears. Pyro says, "Can I choose my own army colors?" Yes, it's your hobby. Fucking Jesus Christ. Is that from the FAQs as well? So stupid. God. Whatever. It's a story, but I just think this is gonna hurt the reputation of armies on parade. It's like the pedigree that it'll just lose its pedigree, right? Further, like there's no optical win. It's not like people will think better of armies of it's not like as though people will feel better about armies on parade because of this. Like, what about Exodite Eldar? How cool would that be, right? An Exodite Eldar armies on parade. You took the effort to convert your riders and all that, all those different things of, and we've actually seen some of that with like Golden Demon before, some Exodite conversions that were like beautifully done, super tasteful, and obviously well executed. It's like, what about that? Now you can't have that on armies on parade. It baffles the mind. It doesn't make sense. Oops. It's got a bit of gray on the palette here. We're going to mix it in with our cerulean. And that should give a Thunderhawk blue-ish color, I think. I just want something brighter, but not too crazy, for our edge highlighting color for this Dragon fusion gun. Yeah, that's a good color. That'll work. That'll do. Oh yeah, look at that. A nice, cool, and I'm talking aesthetics and temperature, color temperature. Nice, cool weapon for this hot armor. Oh, I got a little bit of a blemish to clean up there. Francois says, what's wrong with Sigmarins? And Pyro says, from GW's mouth. It's so... there's no other word for it. It's stupid. Francois says they're just trying to piss off guys like me who got that dope Sigmar Chaplain kit bash model. Like I bought the Lord Relictor and the Lord Terminos for Dark Angel conversions. I mean, maybe the question is, like, I don't know. There's definitely layers of analysis here. I don't necessarily know it's like made to make people who buy their products feel bad. That's weird to me. Like, I can't square that up. It must have, like, what's the incentive? Like a photo op? Like, the initial restriction around armies on parade not allowing third-party bits. We've had all those controversies, like you can't get third-party bases or 3D printed parts or whatever. It's been back and forth for a while now, right? These restrictions filtering in. And I can square it up. I can understand the motivation of that in part because it's like if you're having these GW organized events and you're having these winners and they're getting a lot of popularity and getting people excited about the hobby, I can understand wanting what ends up at the top tables being GW only products because you want people to be excited by your company's products, not some third-party bits or whatever, right? Not that I agree with it, I just understand the incentive. But it's hard for me to square up the incentive here because I don't know how many people Like, is Armies on Parade just way more popular than I think it is? Maybe that's the case. Because to me, Armies on Parade feels like a niche within a niche within a niche. And that's why I don't feel like they're just trying to upset guys like you, Francois, who do cool conversions and kit bashes with, like, the parts where appropriate that feel tasteful, right? Like my, yeah, in my word bearers, my cultists are Age of Sigmar flagellants because they have that. Well, they had the cultist aesthetic I want, the zealous, wild, the hyper zealous cult mob aesthetic, rather than the Necromunda cultist aesthetic, right? I wanted more religious cultists rather than, for obvious word bearers reasons, right? I think I don't have to elaborate any more on that. But yeah, that would be ineligible because it's not from the 40k range, which is, again, stupid, right? Like a word bearer's army on parade, not saying mine, just in principle, is fundamentally better if the cultists are zealous demon Satan worshippers, effectively, right? That lane of cultist rather than militant cultists. I would argue, thematically, that's richer for word bearers. It would score higher in a thematic rubric, in my mind. But again, it feels like a niche within a niche. Like, I don't know. I can't square it up. I can't square up the motivation or the incentive. Power says, nah, it's GW departments fighting each other. Possibly. Like 40k being upset that 30k was eating their sales. Yeah, it might. It might be. It might be. Francois says, sorry, I missed what you said. Got interrupted by an ad. Fair enough. So, Power says, so far, no ads for me. I believe it's set for every 20 or no, 30 minutes? Something like that. That's the automated thing. But regardless. Yeah, this topic has got me all fired up. Hampering the painting progress. But look, I'm not complaining about that. I enjoy the interactability of these streams, obviously. And I'm genuinely appreciative of being enlightened about such news. That's definitely something I would want to be privy to changing. Or that might not be the right word. I would like to be aware of what's going on, is what I'm saying. Well, we got about 10 minutes left, everybody. We're gonna cap these around the 2-hour mark. Well, this guy's looking decent. Maybe we can stipple in some orange from the palette here. Oh man, that what palette is letting me down here? Just to add a bit more variance. Hopefully that helps with the orange readability as well. Though I'm less particular on the orange front for the Fire Dragons because there's no yellow aspect, right, that they're competing with regards to color IV. Francois says GW just wants to show off their models, not yours. Yeah, that's the impression I get, right? It's like they want to show the armies on parade. They want the results of armies on parade to be literally like Codex promotional photography, which it seems so counterintuitive to me. Like you already have that. You already dedicate a large amount of resources to having what I think are often really nice looking shots and compositions of GW product. Like they usually look pretty cool. Way better than the actual game, right? It looks like pretty cinematic and they got all their lighting and interesting compositions and all that stuff. But why do you need armies on parade to do that? It seems so stupid. Now I want someone to like infiltrate armies on parade and just paint blue ultramarines as per the Codex box art. And sneak in a tiny uncompliant component. That's what I want. You sneak it in there. Sneak in a converted head. A converted weapon. You have to pick an army that's... It's harder on Ultramarines because they're so uniform. You'd have to pick an army like Genestealer Cults or like a high variance army with lots of accessories innately, lots of innate variety in the range, and then you could probably sneak in some stuff pretty easily. Just out of principle. Francois says just yellow craft worlds like Eandon. Look, I don't mind repping a GW factions or like I'm painting a built-in thing at the moment. Like I don't mind. I think there's like I think there's like legitimate satisfaction to be gained from playing in their lore with their factions as well, right? And Marine players understand it like very well, but it's just like the creativity restriction, right? Like the Exodite Eldar is a great example of what exists, is narratively rich, and you can't. You can't do it now. Because there's no product that exists. Like people who have like converted demon princes, right? Or like a converted greater demon. Well, most greater demons are compatible with both systems. So that's a bad example. But lots of people convert demon princes. It's a very popular converted unit. Because it's like your big boss of your army oftentimes. And people want their big bosses to be unique. Yep, super lame. Pyro, quick question. When did this news come out? How late to the party am I on this? What is that? It's like pigment powder that got encrusted in the wash. How annoying. My hobby knife is not here, so I'll have to live with it. Yeah, I like these cool grenades the Fire Dragons have, but a little bummed out Fire Dragons don't have the grenades keyword. At least I don't believe they do. The leaks I was looking at were pretty blurry. Probably a game balance thing, but it is a bit jarring narratively. Power says, did they sell a Craft World 2? Oh, today based on Instagram, like you found out this afternoon. Okay, good. Very good. Very good. Yeah, thanks again for dropping the knowledge. Yeah, it's just interesting. All the areas of maybe they just fumbled the delivery and they just need to like have a disqualification, like an evaluation for eligibility that would remove untasteful conversions. That's the best reading of what happened. Maybe we can give some time for GW to clarify, because like things like my Salamander's Redemptor with an Age of Sigmar Dragon Skull trophy on its shoulder, in honor of the Salamander's Primarch, right? Like this kind of idea is ineligible. Like my repulsors for my Firekeepers that use Age of Sigmar tusks for their tusk theme are ineligible. Like it shouldn't be the case. The named character examples they give make sense, but I don't know how many people were trying to put two named characters from different game systems side by side. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely dumb. Anyways, guys, we're hitting overtime. We're gonna wrap things up. This is where we are. I think we put a good dent in him. He's looking definitely more. He's probably ready for basing. Probably got to do the eyes. But he looks good and not better than Fugan, which I like, and that's important. It's gotta be. The character's gotta be the stars. With regards to future streams, I'm thinking Wednesday, like a work in progress type vibe. It might be a good regular day occurring, a regular thing possibly. I'm hesitant to set it in stone because then I have zero flexibility. But that's what I'm aiming for. That is what I'm aiming for. I think Wednesdays will be the intended stream day going forward. And oh, right, the Wall of Honor. That's how we end these streams. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and shared in the hobby camaraderie. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.